But Jesus, who is God, became a man to make right what Adam did wrong. You know, Adam was held responsible in the Garden of Eden for sin. You look through the New Testament, and it's mostly Paul's like, Adam really messed up. You know why? Because the man is the head of the household, and the man is supposed to lead and guard and protect his wife. And so we see that Eve is the first one that took the fruit, but Adam's the one that's held responsible. Where was Adam? People believe that he was just there going, looks good to me too. Jesus, who is God, became a man to make right what Adam did wrong. So in order for us to be reconciled to God, we have to be perfectly righteous. When Jesus teaches on the Sermon on the Mount, he says, you have to be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. What do you think he's saying? You think he's saying, there's going to be maybe 2 of you guys who can do this. He's saying, no, you guys don't get it. You have to be perfect. And then he goes on to show them, that's what I'm doing for you. So we have to be perfectly righteous. This is why Jesus lived. People like to focus on that Jesus lived as our great example. That is so true. But more importantly than everything, Jesus lived because we needed to be counted and made righteous. So that by God's grace, through faith, Jesus may give us his righteousness. We also have to pay for the sin that we have committed against God. This is why Jesus died. To bear the full weight and punishment of sin, so that we could stand blameless before God, that our sin would be taken away, that his righteousness would count for us, and we would stand before God and he would see the work of Jesus in our place. This is the gospel. This is the truth of the word. This is the good news. It's called the great exchange that the reformers called it. Jesus takes our sin away and gives us his righteousness. If he just takes our sin away, then we just kind of get brought back to zero, and we're like, well, we're kind of still screwed. But he also then gives us his righteousness, counts us righteous. So he bared the full weight of punishment and sin so that we could stand blameless before God and be able to enjoy a relationship with him. This is why Jesus lived. This is why Jesus died. Let's go to the next one, Carter. God does not simply overlook our sin. We have to understand this. Forgiveness, salvation is not God going, yay, you believed in Jesus. I'll just look over all that stuff you've done. That's not what it is. God doesn't overlook our sin, but he meets it head on. He became a man and bore the full penalty for our sin. We can only be forgiven because Jesus took the judgment that we have all earned. It's not as if God looks at it and just goes, don't worry about that. He took it and he put it on Jesus on the cross. And that's what he did for us. The cross was far more than physical pain. Jesus wasn't crying in the Garden of Eden saying, this is going to hurt. He's going, I'm going to be for a moment separated from God the Father. The wrath, the judgment that everyone has earned is going to be poured out on me at one time. I'm going to have to swallow the cup of wrath of God. He knows that is going to happen. You see people all throughout the early church and even today are killed all the time for Jesus. And they're not, they're going, I can't wait to be with him. Like you even see Stephen in the book of Acts that he's about to be killed. And what is he doing? He's praying to Jesus saying, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And then they're stoning him. And he's praying this. Were Jesus' followers more heroic or courageous than him? No. He was bearing the full weight of our sin. Imagine all the guilt, all the shame, everything that you've ever felt. Multiply that by 1,000,000 and then by everyone that's ever lived that would come to Christ. That was put on Jesus at one time. This is why he's in the garden. This is why he's saying, is there any other way? Can this cup be passed from me? Not my will, but yours be done. And God's silence says, no. This is the way. This is the plan. This is how we're going to redeem everything. He absorbed the wrath. One more. Yep. He absorbed the wrath of God for us in our place. Forgiveness is very costly. It cost Jesus his life. If I go over to, let's say I go over to Seth's house, just kind of help you understand this. This helps me a whole lot. I go over to Seth. Seth has this awesome, let's say a vase. Might have a nice vase. And I accidentally, or maybe even on purpose, I break it. And Seth goes, I forgive you. Does that make the vase just go, and it's back in one piece? And we're just like, this is cool. It's like, no. But for Seth to forgive me, what he's saying is, I'm going to absorb that cost. If I borrow Seth's truck and I wreck it, And for him to forgive me, it doesn't make him have a new truck. But he had to absorb the cost. He's going to have to pay to get it fixed. He's going to have to absorb that. And that's what Jesus did for us on the cross. God doesn't overlook our sin. He meets it head on. The justice of God and the love of God climatically collide on the cross. God says, I will not abandon these people to death and torment and judgment. I will take it for them so that I can be just and the justifier of those who have faith in Jesus.